Hi, this is Cam with the West Central Montana Avalanche Center. It's been a busy week in the mountains with multiple large human triggered avalanches and a few close calls. We'd like to start by thanking you all for the great public observations this week. These observations have really helped us understand what is happening in the mountains. So, if we look at a map of observations from the last week, we see that nearly every observation has some sort of avalanche or obvious sign of instability. And if we zoom in, we see there is a cluster of avalanches in the southern Bitterroot, mostly around Lost Trail Pass. So, starting on the 18th and continuing into the weekend, temperatures began a warming trend. Before this warming, the new snow that fell during the two January storms, the first being from January 9th through the 12th, and the second storm on the 17th and 18th, had not yet formed a cohesive slab. The warming temperatures sped up the process of this snow becoming a slab, and we began to see widespread avalanches almost immediately. Our first major avalanche of the week was in the central Bitterroot on the 18th. A group of snowmobilers remotely triggered this avalanche while approaching the slope. About a foot of new snow fell in this area the night before with minimal wind. We don't have a lot of solid info on what this avalanche failed on, but it looks to have failed deeper in the snowpack, likely on some buried facets near the ground. And one of the first indicators of trouble on the 20th was in the southern Bitterroot as mid elevation road cuts began to slide naturally as slab avalanches, likely triggered by small wet loose avalanches from above, and these put debris out into the highway. And then by the end of the day on the 20th, we had multiple reports from across the Bitterroot of small wet loose avalanches at mid elevation. We also began to see more reactive snow pit tests with propagation and clean failures on a variety of weak layers just below the new snow. On the 20th, an experienced group of skiers in the Rattlesnake remotely triggered a large avalanche while traversing east of Point 6 on an east aspect at 7,500 feet. They estimated the crown to be 2 to 3 feet deep and 500 feet wide. This avalanche failed on a layer of facets above a crust that formed the first week of January. And then on the 20th, in the Sealy zone, a group of skiers on Morel Mountain
Right
remotely
side.
triggered a large avalanche in
Over
the
there.
main bowl below Morel Mountain Lookout and above the Alpine and Lupine yurts in the afternoon. We don't have much information on this avalanche, but it looks to have failed on a persistent weak layer, likely small facets that formed before the January storms. And then finally, on the 20th, we received word that a snowmobiler was caught in a large avalanche near Phillipsburg, Montana, just east of our forecast zone. He sustained some major injuries and was extricated by helicopter, and we will have a report on this avalanche in the future. On the 21st, an avalanche was triggered remotely in the southern Bitterroot outside Lost Trail Resort. The initial report was that it was remotely triggered from below by a group of skiers. Upon investigation by forecasters, we found tracks above the avalanche with cracks leading to the crown and believe that this avalanche was triggered from above by a second party. The party from below performed a beacon search and determined nobody was involved. Forecasters traveled around the Lost Trail backcountry on the 22nd and found a well preserved layer of surface hoar at upper elevation buried by about 2 feet of snow. This layer was reactive and was the failure layer for the skier triggered avalanche the day before. On the same day, a few ridgelines over, a group of skiers discovered a large wind slab avalanche on a northeast aspect off Saddle Mountain, with areas of the crown over 4 feet in depth. And forecasters returned to East Sealy on the 23rd and found multiple natural slab avalanches. In their snow pit, they found poor snowpack structure with propagation on buried facets 3 feet down. During this time at low elevation in all zones, we saw widespread small wet loose avalanches, roller balls, and generally spring like conditions. So, although the avalanches over the past week failed on a variety of weak layers, there were a few common traits. The first was that it didn't take much to trigger an avalanche or cause a failure in snow pit tests. Most extended column tests failed within the first 10 taps from the wrist and propagated cleanly across the column. The second is that avalanches were easily remotely triggered, some from over 100 feet away. And the third was slope angle. We saw avalanches on slope angles in the low 30s or triggered on convexities that pulled back onto slope angles in the low 30s in the terrain above. So, where does this leave us going into this forecast block starting on the 25th? In short, the snowpack is unstable. Sensitivity of avalanche is likely to decrease in the next few days. The exception to this is going to be the surface hoar. This is most present in the southern Bitterroot around Lost Trail Pass, but we found surface hoar in all zones. This surface hoar problem will continue to be sensitive, and we expect to continue to see avalanches on it. Good trade management is going to be crucial in the next few days. As the avalanche problem decreases in sensitivity, red flags like cracking and collapsing will become less obvious. Dig in the snow, and if you find poor snowpack structure with weak, sugary snow below a firm slab, stick to those low slope angles below 30 degrees. This is an abnormal year where we have an especially weak and dangerous snowpack. I promise it will heal and gain strength, but we have to be patient. So please continue to let us know what you are seeing and submitting observations. We really do appreciate each and every one. Ski and ride safe.